Welcome to TJ Works Wood, everybody. My name's TJ. Today we're building a cast iron skillet rack that we can put up on the wall just so we can get some of our cast iron off the counters and not let them rust. Like you'll see one of them's a little rusty on the bottom. But join me, like and subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comments. And yeah, let's get this thing rolling. First off, we got to figure out how big we're going to make this thing. So it's going to be about 37 inches by about 25, 26 inches. And I'm just going to use some construction grade lumber that I have just around. I'm going to go ahead and cut this to a little over 37 inches. And this piece happens to be 75 inches. So it's actually perfect. I just cut it in two, and there you have it. Since this is a construction grade 2x4, I'm going to go ahead and take the rounded corners and edges off of it. Or I guess rounded corners, not edges. The edges are flat. Anyway, I'm just going to make them flat a little farther in. So I'm going to take a little bit of wood off of both sides, a little over 1/8 of an inch off both sides. And I'll just run it through, flip it around, move the fence, run it through, and we'll be good. And I'll move the fence over just a little bit, and then we can run it the other way, cutting off that rounded off edge, and now we've got two sides with flat edges. So now I'm going to take that 2x4, cut it down the middle, not quite the middle, it'll be 1.5 inches, and then I'll take the piece that was on the outside, run it through also at 1.5 inches, so it'll be the exact same size. I decided to use half lap joinery for this project. I don't believe I've ever used it before, but it's real simple. You just take the thickness of your piece of wood, line it up to where the blade is on the cutting side of the line that you want, and then throw a stop block on your crosscut sled, and then you just start taking little slices through it. This would be so much easier if I had a dado stack, but my job site table saw does not accept dado stacks. So now I'll just need to raise the blade of the table saw up to half the thickness, or 3/4 of an inch, of the 1/2 inch pieces of wood. So that way, when I cut the half lap, which again, I have to do 1/8 of an inch at a time because I can't put a dado stack on this job site saw. Maybe I'll get a bigger one soon. But I'll just get that cut and make sure that it fits and everything lines up. And since it does line up, we'll go ahead and cut the middle half lap joint. So what I did here was I actually used gaffer's tape and taped the two long pieces together. And then I just kind of arbitrarily-ish pick the point, put the first cut in there, and then use the piece that will be going in as a marker. Got it to exactly where I needed, and then more non-dado stat cuttings. Boo. Here's a slightly better view of how I have the two pieces taped up and how I'm going to measure it. And then we'll run it through the table saw again without a dado stack. Boo. And now it's just the glue up. I'm only going to use glue. I think that's going to be completely strong enough to hold everything together. So what I'm doing here, just, again, kind of gluing the half laps, clamping them together, and I'll show you here in a second, like, how many directions I actually clamped it in, but I wanted to make sure there was pressure being generated in 1, 2, 3 directions, 3 of the dimensions, which makes sense. So as you can see there, got to go in every which way. Here I'm using my trim router and a 1/2 inch rabbiting bit, and then I lower it down a 1/2 inch and then go again, and then a little less than 1/2 inch this time and go again. Then, you know, I do it on the bottom square too, but not the middle one. And as I mentioned before, I'm using scrap wood. This is just a piece of scrap 1/4 inch, I believe, plywood. You can see it's barely even conceivable as flat. It's super dirty, but whatever. I'm going to clean it up, get it cut to width for the top square. Now I'm cutting it to length, and I'll do the same for the bottom square, which actually isn't a square, it's a rectangle, because all squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares. Lesson learned for the day. Now here I am just rounding off the corners. I could use a chisel and square off the corners in the actual frame, but this just seemed way easier for me, so I went the lazy man route. All right, I'll go and fit it in. It needs a little finessing, but it works well enough for me. So now we're going to do everybody's favorite thing, and sand. Sand and sand and sand. Oh, I hate it. Now, definitely don't try this at home, or do, whatever, but just be careful. This is the Japanese technique where you burn the wood, and then you take some sandpaper and a wire brush and kind of clean it up a little bit, leave the charred wood there and visible, and then you just hit it with some oil once you get it all, you know, sanded and rubbed down with the wire brush. Do that on the frame, and I'm also doing it on the plywood. And as you can see, it's real cool. It doesn't burn everything all at once. The different grains, I guess, of the wood will burn at different temperatures. I also have no idea what I'm talking about, but until someone proves me wrong, that is 100% fact. But I don't know, I just thought it looks pretty cool how it only burns half of what's presented there on the face of the wood. Now I'm going to use kind of a French cleat system to hang this up. So I'm going to tilt my blade at 45 degrees, cut one of the French cleats on this side of this piece of Baltic birch plywood scrap that I had laying around. And then I'm going to flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. And then I'm going to flip the blade up to 90 degrees, and then cut the French cleats off one side and then off the other. Now we have matching sets. Now I'll move it in, and these are going to be for the brackets holding the plywood into the frame. And I'm just going to use an air nail gun and brad nail them in. Nothing special. Now I'm just going to throw some Danish oil on here, and even though it's just construction wood, it actually comes out really nice. As we all know, studs are 16 inches apart, so I'll mark them, and then I'll double check and measure because this house is a little weird sometimes. 18 inches. Okay. Now I take the French cleats, and I actually measured them up to the back of the frame, and then held them there and brad nailed these two pieces of scrap plywood there, so they're exactly where they need to be when I hang them up. I'll just drill some countersunk pilot holes here into it, mounting holes, I guess, and then take it on in. I'll just pick a corner and use that as a pivot point, get it level, or at least try to, and then go ahead and mount the other four corners. I'll go ahead and pry these pieces of plywood off, and they work perfectly getting this thing lined up. It made me real happy just to be able to put it up, do a little dance, get down tonight. I mean, put it up on the wall tonight. That's the afternoon, whatever. So putting the skillets up here, I just got some hooks from a big box store, pre-drilled the holes for the screws that the hooks came with, and then screwed them in, and then I would hang a pot, go on, hang up the next hook, go on, hang up the next pot, skillet I mean, hang up the next hook. That way I could like kind of do the layout on the fly. And for being on the fly, I'm pretty impressed. That's a season out. Well, I hope y'all enjoyed that. If you did, like and subscribe, leave a comment, and I'll see y'all on the next one.